At Enfocus, it's the people that really make the difference. I mean, my colleagues. That is the part of the business that I really love. And when I look at the pictures in my phone, maybe that's also something that states just how fun it is sometimes. But there's pictures that I can't show in this video.
Thinking back, was still, I think it was a very nice period in my life. I had been working with disk and then Barco graphics for about 10 years, I think. At some point, the people who founded Artwork Systems left Barco and started with a slightly lower end solution, if you will, towards the publishing world. And that started me thinking in the sense that I was like, well, maybe we can take that even one step further, going from high-end workstations that were custom built to using Macintoshes as workstations, if you will, towards really, desktop publishing as we know it now, and play a role in that sense with similar technology maybe, but in a totally different context. And so that's how the idea got started. And in those days, PostScript was a file format that was used to transport files between different companies and platforms and computers.
The American entrepreneur's dream is to have the right product at the right time with all the right customers lined up. Well, that's exactly what happened here at Adobe Systems in January of 1985, when Apple unveiled its LaserWriter printer. Adobe Systems of Palo Alto, California, wrote PostScript, the language which the laser printer understands and uses to print out documents. By virtue of being out there first, PostScript promises to become the industry standard.
And there were quite a number of issues and problems in using it as transport file format because, well, although it was a very generic description language for the contents of a page, it also included printer-specific things, like colors and like, do you want the document to be stapled at the end and stuff like that. And so when you transport that from one printer to the other, it doesn't always work very well. Also, as you may remember, or some of you may know, PostScript is really programming language, and said, creative applications like PageMaker and especially Quark Express and so on, doing their own things, and all of that made it very complicated to transport these documents. And so that's why the idea of Tailor came in, that would allow to import any PostScript document and then even edit it, much like Pitstop does now with PDF, and in a visual way, and then output a very clean PostScript document that you could use in any workflow. And so that's how that started, and I made a prototype on the Next Step computer.
And we want to communicate not with just words, but with words and any text, pictures, sounds. And I'm going to take you through how a Next computer enables you to do this in a revolutionary new way. And I'm going to use our mail system as the spine of the demo to show you some pretty neat features.
I made a prototype, then went to San Francisco to show it on one of the trade shows revolving around Next Step. It was very well received, and then I actually put the product together. At some point, the company was actually founded under the name of First Class. We had floppy disks in those days to actually deliver our product. So this is an example of a box that we used, that we all put together here in this living room. On the table, you can see in the background. My parents would come in every week to help with the children on Wednesday afternoon, get them from school. And well, that evolved into a sort of an assembly line. Each week we would have, I would have a list of all of the orders that we needed to ship, and well, sometimes there were not that many, unfortunately, but sometimes there were. And then we had a whole assembly line. I'm printing these little inserts on a simple piece of paper, and then someone would be cutting them and putting them in the box, and so on and so on, labeling the floppy disks. A very small operation, but in the end we sold, I think, about roughly 1,000 copies of Taylor for Next Step internationally, and a lot in the States, of course. At the same time, it became clear that Next as a company wasn't really going anywhere, and we were forced to think about the future and decided to go move the product towards Mac. In those days, you really had to make it in the US before you could do anything in Europe. Everyone was looking at United States originating software, but also all of the information came from there with Seabold magazine and other magazines that were mostly US based. And so we really had to go to those trade shows to get some name and so forth. So at some point, while Taylor on Mac was getting some traction, maybe not the biggest numbers ever, but well, it was getting some traction, at least some interest from people. I don't remember the exact year, but it was still pretty early in the game. One of the Adobe employees, who was the product manager for Acrobat, comes to our booth and says, I'd like a word. And so we started talking and said, well, why don't you do this for PDF? I'm like, is that not your job? Is that not something Adobe is going to do? And then she says, well, you might think it's different, but we also have limited budgets and limited resources. Yes, we might go that way over time, and I cannot give you any guarantee or real good insight in when that will happen, but it's definitely not going to happen soon. So you will definitely have a window for a number of years where you can build something as a plugin to Acrobat to do similar things that you have been doing with PostScript with Taylor. And so that's how PitStop actually came to life.
2001 until like 2007 were basically the golden years. We sold PitStop like cookies. We didn't have to do a lot of effort. Of course, we did a lot of effort because we didn't have a lot of partners yet at that point. So there was a lot of partner development, searching for new partners, having quite new and exciting stuff added to PitStop Pro and then PitStop Server. Even when I started, I had 2 days of training, 1 day of testing, 1 day of asking questions, and the next week I was off to the south of France explaining what was in the new software. So that's how fast it went, that's how easy everything went. But yeah, those really were the golden years where our first bigger partners really made money together with us. And we used to have a big bell in the hallway where every order bigger than 10,000 euro, we would ring the bell as hell. And trust me, it rang a couple of times.
We have that tradition in Enfocus when we first reach something that we ring the bell, and back then there was a big bell that we rung. Hey, ting! Our first app has been sold, and it was quite fun then.
Did at the time had a very popular pre-flight program for Quark Express, which was the dominant page layout application at that point. And I was thinking, well, if we would do this for PDF, it would take away all of the different formats that you need to support, because people are moving towards PDF as a transport format as we speak. So why would you send over a Quark Express file? Why wouldn't you just make the PDF then pre-flight it, or at least pre-flight it when it comes in on the other side? And so that's how the idea of Checkup was born. But it was just an amazing success. I mean, people were wild about the idea. So we then had Checkup. We first started as a separate product, so separate from PitStop. And then after a while, we actually included it in PitStop. Now, by then, of course, the company was growing and we had a few more people around.
So then Peter Kempson, some of the earlier people from Enfocus, stepped away from Enfocus and started with Gradual, with a product called Castellan Flow, which eventually evolved into Switch.
When we started the Gradual software, we acquired for a relatively small amount of money this Castellan Flow software, which was cool as an idea, and I wanted to use it, and not copy it without paying these people. But it's clear that we had to rebuild it for all sorts of technical reasons. It was not going to be the core. It was just the idea and the interface and so on I liked very much.
And after a couple of years, those people came back, to surprise of many of us.
A little bit after that, someone from ESCO contacted me and said, well, what's the deal here? I mean, do you want to continue this? Or because Artwork Systems also started something similar, and then there was this whole idea of, are we competitors or what's going on? And I was like, well, I wasn't going to sell this company after a few years already, but then it also became clear, even if we were more or less break even, we would need more money to actually build this thing into a real company with traction internationally. And we actually decided then to sell to ESCO, combine the different products into one entity.
Switch, being our automation solution, has a lot of great features themselves. It comes with a lot of optional modules to enhance the functionality, but we can also integrate Switch with other solutions or enhance functionality through apps. And through an app store, which is called the Enfocus app store that we have a program for other developers that can be software developers, our OEM partners. We have several OEM partners that started developing apps for Switch, but even Switch users that have developed scripts over time that said, hey, I have a couple of scripts in my drawer here. I want to take advantage of that development already and make them available to other users. They have appified those and made them either available for free in the App Store or payable.
Future of Switch is definitely in the cloud as well, because you see it everywhere. Customers are putting their automation in the cloud. We want to do the same with Switch, and at the same time we will be able to enable smaller companies as well on automation, because now Switch is quite a complex product. You need to install it, you need to build your own flows and whatever. We think we can do better, and the cloud is a perfect tool to do it. And secondly, we not only want to limit ourselves to pre-press automation, a lot of customers are already expanding to general business automation, automating other parts of the company, not only the pre-press department, and that's definitely something that we want to further explore and to expand on that side.
I think of my years at Enfocus as the first as 10 years of fun. It was hard. It was sometimes difficult, but it's fun.
It's really about continuing down the path that we've chosen. It's also just a lot of fun to do. Like, name me any corporate environment where I can go to my general manager and say, okay, I'm gonna do a video about Switch automation. I'm gonna put you on a desk in a beach chair applying sunscreen, and you do your emails at night. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of companies around where I could just ask my general manager and just get, okay, let's do it in like 2 seconds without having to convince him. So that is really, to me, the Enfocus spirit, and that really makes Enfocus what it is for me. And I'm really convinced that by showing that as well, by living that spirit in the industry, that really is what Enfocus stands for, and that's really fun to see.